Welcome to Less Lethal Defense. I'm Seth, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Mace Pepper Gun. Full disclosure, Mace did send me this product, although it will not affect my review or my overall rating of this product. In the 1960s, Alan and Doris Lippman lived in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. One day, one of Alice's colleagues, a female teacher, was mugged. At the time, pepper spray was on the market, but was ineffective and unreliable. Most of the time, you would get so much back spray on yourself that it would render you unable to defend yourself in an attack. At the time, Alan decided to develop the first aerosol non-lethal chemical spray called chemical mace. The term maced referred to when you got sprayed with Mace brand chemical. Chemical mace became very popular with law enforcement because it was compact, it was easy, and it was reliable. Overnight, it was adopted by most law enforcement agencies at the time because during the 60s, there was a lot of unrest. Originally, mace was made up of CN gas, which is a military type of chemical. CN stands for a very complicated long word that I can't pronounce. Over time, Mace dropped that chemical and started using oleoresin capsicum, which is just the long term for OC, pepper spray. That's what you'll find in most pepper sprays nowadays. It's derived from the pepper plant. The headquarters to Mace brand pepper spray is in Cleveland, Ohio. That's where they develop and manufacture all of their pepper sprays, which means they're American made. I have two different pepper sprays in my hand. One is a generic, no-name pepper spray. The other is a Mace pepper spray. Since the 1960s, everyone has referred to pepper spray as Mace because of the original company, Chemical Mace. Now, over time, people have just gotten into their heads that all pepper sprays are Maces. Well, actually, Mace is a brand name. So this pepper spray is not a Mace, but this pepper spray is a Mace pepper spray. So just remember that not all pepper sprays are Mace, but all Maces are pepper sprays. I hope that helps you understand. I know it can be a little confusing, but just remember when I'm talking about Mace, I'm talking about a pepper spray, not a chemical agent. This is the Mace Pepper Gun 2.0. It's the second generation of Mace's pepper gun. This pepper gun can fire OC spray up to 20 feet. You can fire 7 3-second bursts. It comes with one live cartridge with OC and one water cartridge so that you can practice with. The OC has a UV dye in it so that when you spray an attacker, they can be later identified with a UV light by the police. Before I go into any of the features of the Mace Pepper Gun, I want to show you that it is unloaded. So you can see there's no cartridge in. And the safety is on. When the safety is off, you can see the orange button. So the safety currently is on. On the front of the gun is a 300 powered lumen flashlight. Now you pull the trigger, and that is how you activate the flashlight. This first setting is a beam, which is ideal for sighting. That is what Mace has intended, is to use this as a sight. You release the trigger, pull the trigger again, and now you have a strobe. I'm going to show you the strobe, and now here is the beam. It's a strong flashlight. It's 3 times stronger than my Aura flashlight that I keep on my keychain. However, it's not strong enough to be seen during the day. So trying to use that light as a distractant or as a sight during the daytime is not going to work. Now, when you put a light on a traditional firearm, it's used to identify the threat. And it's usually activated off of a switch or a button somewhere on the firearm. That's not the factor here. Now, whether the safety is on or off, the light will always turn on. And if you're already pulling the trigger on something, you've put yourself in a bad position. Lights are intended to identify threats. Now, if you know what your threat is and you're pulling the trigger, it doesn't matter if the light comes on or off. However, if you're using the light to identify a threat and you don't have the safety off, you're going to be activating the OC spray. Now, you should be treating this like a real firearm and following the 5 basic principles of firearm safety. Unfortunately, the Mace Pepper Gun violates 3 of those principles by having the light attached to the trigger. You might be asking yourself, Seth, why are we talking about gun safety when you're reviewing a less lethal product? Well, Mace does call this the Mace Pepper Gun, which is just another name for firearm. Now, it's not a real gun. It doesn't shoot bullets. But the 5 basic rules of firearm safety were made so that you keep yourself and everyone around you safe. If you treat this like a real gun, you're less likely to harm yourself, harm anyone else. I mean, you definitely don't want this to be falling in the hands of someone who's untrained or someone who may misuse it. So the rules apply here. And there are 3 particular rules that I'd like to speak on. And I'm going to go over these real quick because I don't want to bore you. So number 1, treat all guns as if they're loaded. Okay. Number 2, always point the gun in a safe direction. Number 3, never point the gun at anything you don't intend to shoot. Number 4, keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. And number 5, be sure of your target and what's beyond. Now, when you pull the trigger to activate the flashlight, you are violating rule 2, 3, and 4. This is problematic for me because I was trained to use those rules. And Mace wants you to pull that trigger to activate that light for a sight and to help you identify your threats. This wouldn't be a problem if you could activate it outside of the trigger, but that's not an option here. So I just wanted to bring that up, and I want you to keep that in mind, especially if you've ever dealt with firearms in the past or you plan to deal with firearms, is that this product is going to have you going against your basic fundamental rules. On the top here is a Picatinny rail. This is a rail that allows you to attach accessories like lights, lasers, and sights. Although I don't really see you attaching any lights or lasers or sights to this, but you could. Unfortunately, because of the rail system, there aren't any traditional sights. You'd have to just kind of point and shoot. That is an option. Since you can't really use the light during the daytime, you're going to just have to point at the target. Now, I do actually have a laser and a light system here. So you could attach this. It does make it extremely bulky and heavy in the front, and if you're holding it like this, trying to activate it, it's not smooth by any means. And when I'm applying pressure to the switch here, it's actually causing the whole barrel to move. So I don't know how ideally that would be. I guess if I already had the laser on, I don't know. I don't know how practical the Picatinny rail system is, but it's here, so you can use it. I'm going to show you how to load, unload, and fire the Mace Pepper Gun. There are these little switches up here on the front. You can see there's one here, and there's also one on the other side. You push them forward, and you just lift up the barrel. I have my water practice cartridge, and I will just slide that in there. And at this point, you would close it up, and it's ready to go. Now let's take a look at the trigger. Now you can see that it's still on safe. If I pull the trigger, you can see the hammer has come out. Now if I take it off safe, the hammer comes out even farther. So what that does is it applies pressure to the back of the canister, which applies pressure to the nozzle that hits the barrel on the front here and fires your pepper spray. Now keep in mind, when you are loading your cartridge, you don't want to apply any pressure on the back, because if you do, you're acting just like the hammer and you're going to fire it. Now, if this was a regular cartridge, well, you're going to have a bad day. So just be mindful of that. Also, I did notice that it does have a little bit of a rattle. It is not tight in there. You can see it does move around, has a lot of play, but I don't think that's going to affect how it operates, but it is kind of annoying. The Mace Pepper Gun is very easy and simple to operate. You can shoot it using 2 hands or 1. The safety, which is on both sides because it's ambidextrous, can be simply operated by flipping the switch down, and then you just simply pull the trigger and you're off to the races. Now, the weight of the pepper gun is actually pretty light. It's half the weight of a can of soda, roughly about 6 ounces. The length is 8.5 inches and the width is 1.5 inches, which does make it a little bulky, but because of the plastics, it's still very light. So you can operate it with one hand out and not have to worry about the weight. Now, when it comes to the concealability, I personally had issues with the Picatinny rail. When I had it in my pocket, it wanted to catch on my clothing, so it was not easy to draw. This also could be a problem in a purse or a backpack. Now, the good news is that Mace, along with other companies, do manufacture holsters, whether they're in the belt or outside the belt, so you can wear it on your belt and draw it like a traditional firearm. Now, because it is bulky, it's going to stick out a little bit, but if you're wearing a jacket or a loose-fitting shirt, it's not going to be a problem to conceal carry. Now, Mace designed this to be just like a gun, so what they did is they did a textured grip on all sides so that if the gun happened to get wet, or if you're wearing a glove, you'll still have a good hold. Now, one of the things that's a little weird about the design of the Mace gun, and I'm just gonna point this out, is these little notches on the side. They're on both sides. So those are found on traditional firearms. They're meant so you can grab hold of the slide, pull it back, and release it. On the Mace Pepper Gun, you don't do that. So I guess Mace was just really trying to make this look like a gun. I think it's kind of silly, kind of wasteful, but I didn't design it. I just thought I would point it out to you. Let's see what the Mace Pepper Gun can do. You can tell that it's light out. I wanted to show you how effective the light actually was on the gun. So right now, I have activated the light. You can't see anything, can you? Now I've activated the strobe. Still can't see anything. The light is going to be absolutely useless during the daytime for sights. Don't rely on them. This is going to be a point and shoot type of product. I'm going to move back a little bit farther. Once again, there is zero light visibility. I mean, I can see a little bit of movement, and there is a little bit of cloud cover, but not much. But you're not going to be able to use this as an aiming tool during the daytime. That was an unsuccessful test. I'm using the active ingredient. This is not the water. And you could tell from the video, it did not make it to the target. The target is dry. There's no residue or anything on it. Because I used the active, there is an orange coloring on the ground. So I can use my tape measure to find exactly how far it traveled. Be mindful that there is no wind right now. It's stagnant. So I'm not upwind or downwind. That's not going to affect the spray at all. So it looks like the last droplet stopped at the 5-foot mark from the target, which means it only traveled 15 feet. I'm going to do another shot, and I'm going to drop back to the 15-foot mark and fire and see how much of the OC actually gets on the target. Wow, that, I'm not sure what happened there. It should have hit the target. Once again, you can tell from the video that it did not. The target's still dry. I can see the spray pattern, but it didn't even get close to it. I'm not sure if maybe I have a bad canister or what, but the canisters have been stored inside in a warm, dry environment. There's no reason they shouldn't be operating functionally properly. I'm gonna go ahead and try it again, and I'm gonna shorten the distance. All right, I'm not even gonna stop the video at this point. My canister is dead. Okay, that's not live. So this canister is dead. Maybe my first shot I sprayed too long. You are supposed to shoot this in bursts. So I'm gonna replace this canister and we're gonna try this again. So I have another live cartridge. I'm gonna do this on video so no one thinks that there's any funkiness about this. Live cartridge in, locked into position. I'm going back to 20 feet again. That obviously did not work. This is not firing effectively and reaching the target at 20 feet. I'm going to move up to 10 feet because I want to actually see if this thing can hit a target. I was able to hit the target at 10 feet. I was aiming for center mass. You can see that the liquid is a little low and to the right, and it's streaming down the cardboard. That's gonna happen to an attacker as well. If you hit them in the face, whether it be the forehead, the nose, the lower mouth, it's gonna get in the area and then it's gonna start rolling down their body, which is gonna cause all of their body to sting. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move a little bit closer and I'm gonna aim for the head. It's a very smaller target. I'm gonna see if I can hit it. At 7 feet, I was able to hit the target right in the face. And you can see from the foam that the OC liquid is just streaming down the target. It's just covering it. This is a great hit. 7 feet, perfect. I was aiming right for the top. It hit it right where I wanted to. You can see from that video that it bubbled right in the face shot. It was perfect. Great shot. It's streaming. I'd like to mention that this is video, the second video is taken just seconds after the first one. I am really close to this target and I have no secondary exposure. Now I can taste that spicy air, but it's not affecting me. I'm not coughing, I'm not hacking, which is, it could be a good sign or it could be a bad sign. As the operator, I'm not being overcome by any secondary exposure, but if I'm next to the attacker and you shoot my friend, I'm not affected either. Now, the Mace Pepper Gun does allow you to fire multiple shots. So I'm gonna see how much liquid is left and I'm gonna fire 2 shots at once to each side of the target or multiple shots on the target so you can see how quickly you can adjust between potential threats. I was able to get 3 additional shots off before the cartridge ran out of pressure and the stream was no longer hitting the target. I fired it so it would be completely empty so you'd see what would happen when you got to the end of the cartridge. Like a squirt gun, the stream just wasn't making it there any longer. I did intentionally fire around the target so it would be like shooting multiple threats. It's everyone's favorite part of the review, the live demonstration, except for mine. Today my operator is going to be Adam again. We all know why you volunteered, but we still thank you. Adam has been given an opportunity to use the Mace Pepper Gun and shoot some of the water practice spray. Since we are doing this during the day, the light will not be useful, so he needed to be able to know exactly how to aim the Mace Pepper Gun. He'll be standing 10 feet away from me. I would have liked to done it at 20, the max distance, but from the other sections you can see that it was not very effective. So I decided to cut it in half at 10 feet. So he was going to fire the first burst at me, and he's not going to give me any warnings. At that point, I can start walking, unless I'm overcome with the OC and I'm stopped. But if I do continue to walk, Adam is authorized to continue firing the Mace Pepper Gun until either he runs out of spray or I'm stopped, whatever comes first. Please remember that this is very dangerous. I'm doing this under close supervision. I've taken all the necessary precautions and am trained on how to use this device. Please, please, please do not try this at home. That was really intense and extremely painful for me. You can see from the first shot, it didn't really affect me. So what happened was that mist got to me and it irritated me, but it didn't really do anything. So I kept walking. That second shot, on the other hand, bam, that hit me like just a slap in the face. It actually hit me right in the eye. And I immediately my eyes started to burn and the pain was just overwhelming. So you can see me trying to drop my head and cover my face. And what happened is the spray ended up going into my hair and just started burning my scalp, because it also started to roll down my head to my ears, to my cheeks, which just made it 10 times worse for me. I was out of the fight. I was no longer interested in attacking Adam. Couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't see, didn't know what was going on. Now, it took me about 20 minutes of decontaminating for me to be able to take this photo. Sexy, right? Yeah, you can see that my eyes are swollen. You can see that my face is red. And this was after 20 minutes of decontaminating myself. A potential attacker is not going to be able to decontaminate themselves. They're not going to have the resources like I did. So they're going to be in a whole lot of pain. And the one thing I didn't do that most people do is they try to wipe the spray with their hands, which then spreads it. Because once it's on your hands and your hands start to burn, you maybe wipe your arms or any part of your body and you're just making it 10 times worse. I knew that was going to happen, so I did a really good job of not touching my face with my hands. Now, after a while, we decided to test the UV light. Now remember that I had been decontaminating myself, so I was rinsing as much of the OC spray off as I could. But you can still see here that there is residue in my ear. Now remember that I didn't get shot in the ear. That came off of my scalp, and it also came off of the water. So if an attacker is trying to wash it off, they're not going to get everything. Because honestly, my ear didn't even burn at that point. I had no idea that it was in my ear. So a potential attacker isn't going to see where the residue and the dye went. So when the police go to check someone, they're going to find that. I had already stripped off my sweatshirt and I was not going to re-expose myself to use the light on it, maybe next time, but not this time. I was done. It roughly took about 5.5 hours for the OC to be completely gone. And even then, there was it still burned a little bit, but not too bad. Now, one thing that was really surprising was it didn't really affect my lungs. I was not coughing. I didn't have any trouble breathing. It was my face. I mean, my lips were burning, my cheeks were burning, my scalp, my eyes hurt. Just opening my eyes was extremely painful. But my lungs were fine. It still did the job. It still stopped me. And I'm 100% confident that it would stop an attacker. I just thought it was odd that it didn't affect my lungs. So Mace did a really good job creating this formula for the OC. I've collected all the information and am now prepared to give my final review and rating of the Mace Pepper Gun. I'd like to talk about the things I liked the most. First would have to be the strength of the pepper spray. It was super strong. I'm confident it would stop most threats, and hands down, favorite thing about this. Second would be the weight, extremely light, not gonna have any problem with that weight, and it's durable. Third, it's reloadable. So it's not one use and done. You can always put another cartridge in, and you can practice with the water cartridges. So you can buy as many as you want, and you can practice. Easy to use, super simple. Safety, pull trigger, bam, you're done. That's it. There's nothing too complicated about it. You can take on multiple attackers. So, like I showed you, you can fire multiple bursts. So if you had more than one person coming at you or animals, you can take them all down. It'll work under stress because it's so simple. And when you practice, you'll get used to that safety trigger pull, that under a stressful situation, you're gonna be able to operate this, no problem. And because it's like a gun, most people automatically know how to use it. So that's very important, because in a stressful situation, everything goes out. You just forget how to do the most basic things. So I don't think you're gonna have a problem with that. Now, unfortunately, there were several things I did not like. And first is gonna be the distance. I tried and tried, I could not hit the target at 20 feet. So, I mean, is that a deal breaker? No. But if you're gonna advertise it's gonna go 20 feet, it should go 20 feet. Maybe under, the right circumstances, it will go 20 feet, but I couldn't get that. So, if you're gonna choose this, be mindful to keep that distance down. The light doesn't work as an aiming device during the day. There is no traditional sight, so this is a point and spray device. Now, that's not super big problem, because when you see the stream, you can just adjust and use it like a squirt gun. And because the stream is bright orange, you can just continue to move it until you hit the attacker. But if you're gonna make it to be like a gun, put some sights on it. It's not concealable. Even with the holster, it's still big and bulky. This is not something you're just gonna throw in your pocket and head off. It's not something you're gonna use during a run or even walking the dog. It's not something that's super easy. Now, you can definitely keep it around your house and your car, no problem, but it's just not something I would see carrying on my person. The Picatinny rail, it's useless. It gets in the way. In my opinion, Mace, get rid of it and just put in a little sight and you'd be golden. And then the biggest one, obviously, that trigger light. I just don't like it. I'm never gonna feel comfortable pulling a trigger to activate a light. So with all that being said, I'm gonna have to rate the Mace Pepper Gun 2.0 with a 4. I really would have liked to have given it a higher rating, but I just can't justify this. Now, if you worked in security or law enforcement, I could see this being more of a product for you, because you can wear it on a holster. It's reloadable. It's going to be somewhere that you can get to it, no problem. But for just civilians who are going to be using this for day-to-day self-defense, I just can't recommend it. Now, it does have its space. Like I said, it's fine in a house, a closed environment like your car. It's going to work great, but just carrying this on your person isn't realistic. It does a good job, and Mace, you are a great company, and I look forward to reviewing some of your other products, but this one just did not set a very high bar. So with that, if you choose the Mace Pepper Gun as your self-defense product, you can check out the link below. I do have a link to their website. It does come with the 2 cartridges, the practice and the live, the gun. So it's all ready to go in one package. So if you decide you want it, go ahead and buy it. I hope you enjoyed my review. If you did, hit the like button. If you want to see more reviews, hit the subscribe button and make sure notifications are turned on so you'll get an up-to-date notification when I post the next review. You can also follow me on TikTok and Instagram. If you have any questions, comments, or there's a product you'd like to see me review, please send me an email. And until next time, stay safe.